Poetry by Edgar Allan Poe. Colophon poetry was compiled from poetry published between 1827 and 1845 by Edgar Allan Poe. This ebook was produced for Standard eBooks by Robin Whittleton and is based on transcriptions from various sources and on digital scans from the Internet Archive. The cover page is adapted from Melancholy, a painting completed in 1876 by Odilon Redon. The cover and title pages feature the League Spartan and Sots Mill Gaudi typefaces created in 2014 and 2009 by the League of Movable Type. This edition was released on August 18, 2025, 9:05 p.m., and is based on revision 701-5. The first edition of this ebook was released on May 30, 2023, 6:39 p.m. You can check for updates to this ebook, view its revision history, or download it for different e-reading systems at standardbooksorg/ebooks/edgarallanpoe/poetry. The volunteer-driven Standard eBooks project relies on readers like you to submit typos, corrections, and other improvements. Anyone can contribute at standardbooksorg. In notes, the earliest version of Tamerlane was included in the suppressed volume of 1827, but differs very considerably from the poem as now published. The present draft, besides innumerable verbal alterations and improvements upon the original, is more carefully punctuated, and, the lines being indented, presents a more pleasing appearance, to the eye at least. Right in climes of mine imagining a pot? Ed. Right query, fervor? Ed. Right, it was a saying of this philosopher, that one's own name should never appear in one's own book. Right, a star was discovered by Tycho Brahe, which appeared suddenly in the heavens, attained, in a few days, a brilliancy surpassing that of Jupiter, then as suddenly disappeared, and has never been seen since. Al Aroff first appeared with the sonnet to silence prefixed to it in 1829, and is, substantially, as originally issued. In the edition for 1831, however, this poem, its author's longest, was introduced by the following 29 lines, which have been omitted in all subsequent collections. Al Aroff, mysterious star, thou wert my dream all a long summer night, be now my theme? By this clear stream of thee will I write. Meantime from afar bathe me in light. Thy world has not the dross of ours, yet all the beauty, all the flowers that list our love or deck our bowers in dreamy gardens, where do lie dreamy maidens all the day, while the silver winds of Circassy on violet couches faint away. Little, oh, little dwells in thee like unto what on earth we see. Beauty's eye is here the bluest in the falsest and untruest. On the sweetest air doth float the most sad and solemn note. If with thee be broken hearts, joy so peacefully departs that its echo still doth dwell, like the murmur in the shell. Thou, thy truest type of grief is the gently falling leaf. Thou, thy framing is so holy sorrow is not melancholy. Write on Santa Mora, Olim Ducadia. Write Sappho. Right, this flower is much noticed by Leeuwenhoek and Tournefout. The bee, feeding upon its blossom, becomes intoxicated. Right, Clytia. The chrysanthemum peruvianum, or, to employ a better-known term, the turnsole, which continually turns towards the sun, covers itself, like Peru, the country from which it comes, with dewy clouds which cool and refresh its flowers during the most violent heat of the day. B. de Saint-Pierre. Right, there is cultivated in the King's Garden at Paris a species of serpentine aloes without prickles, whose large and beautiful flower exhales a strong odor of the vanilla during the time of its expansion, which is very short. It does not blow till towards the month of July. You then perceive it gradually open its petals, expand them, fade and die. Saint-Pierre. Right, there is found in the Rhône a beautiful lily of the Vallisnerian kind. Its stem will stretch to the length of 3 or 4 feet, thus preserving its head above water in the swellings of the river. Right, the hyacinth. Right, it is a fiction of the Indians that Cupid was first seen floating in one of these down the river Ganges, and that he still loves the cradle of his childhood. Right, and golden vials full of odas, which are the prayers of the saints. Rev. St. John. Right, the humanitarians held that God was to be understood as having a really human form. Vide Clark's Sermons, Vol. 1, page 26, Fall. Edit. The drift of Milton's argument leads him to employ language which would appear, at first sight, to verge upon their doctrine, but it will be seen immediately that he guards himself against the charge of having adopted one of the most ignorant errors of the dark ages of the Church. Dr. Sumner's notes on Milton's Christian doctrine. This opinion, in spite of many testimonies to the contrary, could never have been very general. Andius, a Syrian of Mesopotamia, was condemned for the opinion as heretical. He lived in the beginning of the 4th century. His disciples were called anthropomorphites. Vide du pin among Milton's minor poems are these lines, Dicite sacrorum presides nemorum di, etc. quis illa primus cujus ex imagine natura solas finxit humanum genus, eternus, incorruptus, equivus polo, unusque et universus exempla Dei. And afterwards, nun cui profundum quisitas lumen dedit, dircius auga vidit hunc alto sinu, etc. Right seltsamen touchta jovis sanum skoskein der fantasi. Right sightless, too small to be seen. Leg right I have often noticed a peculiar movement of the fireflies. They will collect in a body and fly off, from a common center, into innumerable radii. Right Thracia, Thracia, the island mentioned by Seneca, which, in a moment, arose from the sea to the eyes of astonished mariners. Right some star which, from the ruined roof of shacked Olympus, by mischance did fall. Right Voltaire, in speaking of Persepolis, says, G. canois bien el admiration, inspiant ces ruins, mais un palais irrigué au pied d'une chaîne des roches steriles, putil eter un chef d'oeuvre des arts? Right, the wave, Ula de Guissi is the Turkish appellation, but on its own shores it is called Baha Loth, or Ulmatana. There were undoubtedly more than 2 cities engulfed in the Dead Sea. In the valley of Siddim were 5, Adra, Zeboin, Zah, Sodom, and Gomorrah. Stephen of Byzantium mentions 8 and Strabo 13 engulfed, but the last is out of all reason. It is said Tacitus, Strabo, Josephus, Daniel of St. Saba now, Mondrel, Troilo, Davia, that after an excessive drought, the vestiges of columns, walls, etc. are seen above the surface. At any season, such remains may be discovered by looking down into the transparent lake, and at such distances as would argue the existence of many settlements in the space now usurped by the asphaltites. Right Irako, Chaldea. Right I have often thought I could distinctly hear the sound of the darkness as it stole over the horizon. Right fairies use flowers for their charactery. Merry wives of Windsor write in Scripture is this passage. The sun shall not harm thee by day, nor the moon by night. It is perhaps not generally known that the moon, in Egypt, has the effect of producing blindness to those who sleep with the face exposed to its rays, to which circumstance the passage evidently alludes. Right the albatross is said to sleep on the wing. Right I met with this idea in an old English tale, which I am now unable to obtain and quote from memory. The very essence and, as it were, springe head and origin of all music is the very pleasant sound which the trees of the forest do make when they grow. Right the wild bee will not sleep in the shade if there be moonlight. The rhyme in this verse, as in one about 60 lines before, has an appearance of affectation. It is, however, imitated from Sir W. Scott, or rather from Claude Halcrow, in whose mouth I admired its effect, were there an island, though ever so wild where woman might smile, and no man be beguiled, etc. Right with the Arabians there is a medium between heaven and hell, where men suffer no punishment, but yet do not attain that tranquil and even happiness which they suppose to be characteristic of heavenly enjoyment. Un no rompido suno, un dia puro, allega, libra quiera, libra der ama, de zelo, der odio, der esperanza, der resilo. Sorrow is not excluded from al-araf, but it is that sorrow which the living love to cherish for the dead, and which, in some minds, resembles the delirium of opium. The passionate excitement of love and the buoyancy of spirit attendant upon intoxication are its less holy pleasures, the price of which, to those souls who make choice of al-araf as their residence after life, is final death and annihilation. Right there be tears of perfect moan wept for thee in Helicon. Right it was in Tyre in 1687, the most elevated spot in Athens, right shadowing more beauty in their airy brows than have the white breasts of the Queen of Love. Right pennon for pinion. Milton right the poem styled Romance, constituted the preface of the 1829 volume, but with the addition of the following lines, succeeding years, too wild for song, then rolled like tropic storms along, where, through the garish lights that fly dying along the troubled sky, lay bare, through vistas thunder-riven, the blackness of the general heaven, that very blackness yet doth fling light on the lightning's silver wing. For being an idle boy lang syne, who read Anacreon and drank wine, I early found Anacreon rhymes were almost passionate sometimes, and by strange alchemy of brain his pleasures always turned to pain, his naivete to wild desire, his wit to love, his wine to fire. And so, being young and dipped in folly, I fell in love with melancholy, and used to throw my earthly rest and quiet all away in jest. I could not love except where death was mingling his with beauty's breath. All Hymen, time and destiny were stalking between her and me. But now my soul hath too much room, gone are the glory and the gloom, the black hath mellowed into grey, and all the fires are fading away. My draught of passion hath been deep, I revelled, and I now would sleep, and after drunkenness of soul succeeds the glories of the bowl, an idle longing night and day to dream my very life away. But dreams, of those who dream as I, aspiringly, are damned, and die. Yet should I swear I mean alone, by notes so very shrilly blown, to break upon time's monotone, while yet my vapid joy and grief are tintless of the yellow leaf. Why not an imp the greybeard hath, will shake his shadow in my path, and Anne the greybeard will all look connivingly my dreaming book. Right, and the angel Israfel, whose heartstrings are a lute, and who has the sweetest voice of all God's creatures. Right to Helen first appeared in the 1831 volume, as did also The Valley of Unrest as The Valley Nis, Israfel, and one or two others of the youthful pieces. Right, The Raven was first published on the 29th January, 1845, in the New York Evening Mirror, a paper its author was then assistant editor of. It was prefaced by the following words, understood to have been written by N.P. Willis. We are permitted to copy, in advance of publication, from the second number of the American Review, the following remarkable poem by Edgar Poe. In our opinion, it is the most effective single example of fugitive poetry ever published in this country, and unsurpassed in English poetry for subtle conception, masterly ingenuity of versification, and consistent sustaining of imaginative lift and pokerishness. It is one of those dainties bred in a book which we feed on. It will stick to the memory of everybody who reads it. In the February number of the American Review, the poem was published as by Qualls, and it was introduced by the following note, evidently suggested if not written by Poe himself. The following lines from a correspondent, besides the deep, quaint strain of the sentiment, and the curious introduction of some ludicrous touches amidst the serious and impressive, as was doubtless intended by the author, appears to us one of the most felicitous specimens of unique rhyming which has for some time met our eye. The resources of English rhythm for varieties of melody, measure, and sound, producing corresponding diversities of effect, having been thoroughly studied, much more perceived, by very few poets in the language, while the classic tongues, especially the Greek, possess, by power of accent, several advantages for versification over our own, chiefly through greater abundance of spondaic feet, we have other, and very great advantages of sound, by the modern usage of rhyme. Alliteration is nearly the only effect of that kind which the ancients had in common with us. It will be seen that much of the melody of the Raven arises from alliteration, and the studious use of similar sounds in unusual places. In regard to its measure, it may be noted that if all the verses were like the second, they might properly be placed merely in short lines, producing a not uncommon form, but the presence in all the others of one line, mostly the second in the verse, stanza, which flows continuously, with only an aspirate pause in the middle, like that before the short line in the Sapphic Adonic, while the fifth has at the middle pause no similarity of sound with any part besides, gives the versification an entirely different effect. We could wish the capacities of our noble language and prosody were better understood. Right to F. Francis Sargent Osgood, appeared in the Broadway Journal for April, 1845. These lines are but slightly varied from those inscribed to Mary in the Southern Literary Messenger for July, 1835, and subsequently republished, with the two stanzas transposed in Graham's Magazine for March, 1842, as to one departed. Right a Valentine, one of three poems addressed to Mrs. Osgood, appears to have been written early in 1846. To discover the names in this poem, read the first letter of the first line in connection with the second letter of the second line, the third letter of the third line, the fourth of the fourth, and so on to the end. Right, this poem was first published in Colton's American Review for December, 1847, as to Ulalume, a ballad. Being reprinted immediately in the Home Journal, it was copied into various publications with the name of the editor, N.P. Willis, appended, and was ascribed to him. When first published, it contained the following additional stanza which Poe subsequently, at the suggestion of Mrs. Whitman, wisely suppressed. Said we then, we too then, ah, can it have been that the woodlandish ghouls, the pitiful, the merciful ghouls, to bar up our path, and to ban it from the secret that lies in these wolds, had drawn up the specter of a planet from the limbo of lunary souls, this sinfully scintillant planet from the hell of the planetary souls? Right, the bibliographical history of the bells is curious. The subject and some lines of the original version having been suggested by the poet's friend, Mrs. Shaw, Poe, when he wrote out the first draft of the poem, headed it The Bells by Mrs. M.A. Shaw. This draft, now the editor's property, consists of only 17 lines and read thus. I the bells? Ah, the bells, the little silver bells, how fairy-like a melody there floats from their throats, from their merry little throats, from the silver, tinkling throats of the bells, bells, bells of the bells, Roman to the bells. Ah, the bells, the heavy iron bells, how horrible a monody there floats from their throats, from their deep-toned throats, from their melancholy throats. How I shudder at the notes of the bells, 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 of the bells. In the autumn of 1848, Poe added another line to this poem, and sent it to the editor of the Union magazine. It was not published. So, in the following February, the poet forwarded to the same periodical a much enlarged and altered transcript. 3 months having elapsed without publication, another revision of the poem, similar to the current version, was sent, and in the following October was published in the Union magazine. Right, although El Dorado was published during Poe's lifetime in 1849 in the Flag of Our Union, it does not appear to have ever received the author's finishing touches. Right, an enigma, addressed to Mrs. Sarah Anna Lewis, Stella, was sent to that lady in a letter in November 1847, and the following March appeared in Sartain's Union magazine. To discover the names in this poem, read the first letter of the first line in connection with the second letter of the second line, the third letter of the third line, the fourth of the fourth, and so on to the end. Right, to Helen? Mrs. S. Helen Whitman, was not published until November 1848, although written several months earlier. It first appeared in the Union magazine, and with the omission, contrary to the knowledge or desire of Poe, of the line, "Oh, God, oh, heaven, how my heart beats," in coupling those two words. Right, Annabel Lee was written early in 1849, and is evidently an expression of the poet's undying love for his deceased bride, although at least one of his lady admirers deemed it a response to her admiration. Poe sent a copy of the ballad to the Union magazine, in which publication it appeared in January 1850, 3 months after the author's death. While suffering from hope deferred as to its fate, Poe presented a copy of Annabel Lee to the editor of the Southern Literary Messenger, who published it in the November number of his periodical, a month after Poe's death. In the meantime, the poet's own copy, left among his papers, passed into the hands of the person engaged to edit his works, and he quoted the poem in an obituary of Poe in the New York Tribune before anyone else had an opportunity of publishing it. Right, for Annie was first published in the Flag of Our Union in the spring of 1849. Poe, annoyed at some misprints in this issue, shortly afterwards caused a corrected copy to be inserted in the Home Journal. Right, the sonnet, To My Mother, Maria Clem, was sent for publication to the short-lived Flag of Our Union early in 1849, but does not appear to have been issued until after its author's death, when it appeared in the Leaflets of Memory for 1850. The poem was addressed to the poet's mother-in-law, Mrs. Clem Ed. Right, to F. SSOD. A portion of the poet's triune tribute to Mrs. Osgood was published in the Broadway Journal for September 1845. The earliest version of these lines appeared in the Southern Literary Messenger for September 1835 as lines written in an album, and was addressed to Eliza White, the proprietor's daughter. Slightly revised, the poem reappeared in Burton's Gentleman's Magazine for August 1839 as to Right. In print, this ebook is the product of many hours of hard work by volunteers for Standard eBooks, and builds on the hard work of other literature lovers made possible by the public domain. This particular ebook is based on transcriptions from various sources and on digital scans from the Internet Archive. The source text and artwork in this ebook are believed to be in the United States public domain. That is, they are believed to be free of copyright restrictions in the United States. They may still be copyrighted in other countries, so users located outside of the United States must check their local laws before using this ebook. The creators of, and contributors to, this ebook dedicate their contributions to the worldwide public domain via the terms in the CC 01.0 Universal Public Domain Dedication. For full license information, See the uncopyright at the end of this ebook. Standard eBooks is a volunteer-driven project that produces ebook editions of public domain literature using modern typography, technology, and editorial standards, and distributes them free of cost. You can download this and other ebooks carefully produced for true book lovers at Standard Books.org. Tamerlane, one kind solace in a dying hour. Such father is not now my theme. I will not madly deem that power of earth may shrive me of the sin unearthly pride hath revelled in. I have no time to dote or dream. You call it hope, that fire of fire. It is but agony of desire. If I can hope, O God, I can. Its fount is holier, more divine. I would not call thee fool, old man, but such is not a gift of thine. Know thou the secret of a spirit bowed from its wild pride into shame. O yearning heart, I did inherit thy withering passion with the fame, the searing glory which hath shone amid the jewels of my throne, halo of hell, and with a pain not hell shall make me fear again. O craving heart, for the lost flowers and sunshine of my summer hours. Undying voice of that dead time, with its interminable chime, rings, in the spirit of a spell, upon thy emptiness, a knell. I have not always been as now. The fevered diadem on my brow I claimed, and won usurpingly. Hath not the same fierce heirdom given Rome to the Caesar, this to me? The heritage of a kingly mind, and a proud spirit which hath striven triumphantly with humankind. On mountain soil I first drew life. The mists of the Taglay have shed nightly their dews upon my head, and, I believe, the winged strife and tumult of the headlong air have nestled in my very hair. So late from heaven, that dew, it fell, mid dreams of an unholy night, upon me with the touch of hell, while the red flashing of the light from clouds that hung, like banners, appeared to my half-closing eye the pageantry of monarchy, and the deep trumpet thunders raw came hurriedly upon me, telling of human battle, where my voice, my own voice, silly child, was swelling. Oh, how my spirit would rejoice and leap within me at the cry, the battle cry of victory. The rain came down upon my head unsheltered, and the heavy wind rendered me mad and deaf and blind. It was but man, I thought, who shed laurels upon me, and the rush, the torrent of the chilly air gurgled within my ear the crush of empires, with the captive's prayer, the hum of suitors, and the tone of flattery round a sovereign's throne. My passions, from that hapless hour, usurped a tyranny which men have deemed since I have reached to power, my innate nature, be it so. But, Father, there lived one who then, in my boyhood, when their fire burned with a still intenser glow, for passion must, with youth, expire, and then who knew this iron hot in woman's weakness had a pot. I have no words, alas, to tell the loveliness of loving well, nor would I now attempt to trace the more than beauty of a face whose lineaments upon my mind are shadows on unstable wind. Thus I remember having dwelt some page of early lore upon, with loitering eye, till I have felt the letters, with their meaning, melt to fantasies with none. Oh, she was worthy of all love. Love as in infancy was mine, 'twas such as angel minds above might envy, her young hot the shrine on which my every hope and thought were incense. Then a goodly gift, for they were childish and upright, pure, as her young example taught. Why did I leave it, and adrift, trust to the fire within for light? We grew in age, and loved together, roaming the forest and the wild, my breast her shield in wintry weather, and when the friendly sunshine smiled, and she would mock the opening skies, I saw no heaven, but in her eyes. Young love's first lesson is, the hot, for mid that sunshine and those smiles, when, from our little cares apart, and laughing at her girlish wiles, I'd throw me on her throbbing breast and paw my spirit out in tears. There was no need to speak the rest, no need to quiet any fears of her, who asked no reason why, but turned on me her quiet eye, yet more than worthy of the love my spirit struggled with, and strove, when on the mountain peak alone, ambition lent it a new tone. I had no being, but in thee, the world, and all it did contain in the earth, the air, the sea, its joy, its little lot of pain that was new pleasure, the ideal, dim, vanities of dreams by night, and dimmer nothings which were real, shadows, and a more shadowy light, potted upon their misty wings, and so, confusedly, became thine image, and a name, two separate, yet most intimate things. I was ambitious. Have you known the passion, Father? You have not. A cottager, I mocked a throne of half the world as all my own, and murmured at such lowly lot. But just like any other dream, upon the vapor of the dew my own had passed, did not the beam of beauty which did while it throw the minute, the hour, the day, oppress my mind with double loveliness. We walked together on the crown of a high mountain, which looked down afar from its proud natural towers of rock and forest, on the hills, the dwindled hills. begirt with bowers and shouting with 1,000 rills. I spoke to her of power and pride, but mystically, in such guise that she might deem it not beside the moment's converse. In her eyes I read, perhaps too carelessly, a mingled feeling with my own. The flush on her bright cheek, to me seemed to become a queenly throne too well that I should let it be light in the wilderness alone. I wrapped myself in grandeur then, and donned a visionary crown. Yet it was not that fantasy had thrown her mantle over me, but that, among the rabble, men, lion ambition is chained down, and crouches to a keeper's hand, not so in deserts where the grand, the wild, the terrible conspire with their own breath to fan his fire. Look round thee now on Samarcand. Is not she queen of earth, her pride above all cities? In her hand their destinies? In all beside of glory which the world hath known stands she not nobly and alone? Falling, her veriest stepping stone shall form the pedestal of a throne, and who her sovereign? Timma, he whom the astonished people saw striding o'er empires haughtily a diademed outlaw. O, human love, thou spirit given, on earth, of all we hope in heaven, which fall'st into the soul like rain upon the sere-quithered plain, and, failing in thy power to bless, but leav'st the heart a wilderness, idea, which bindest life around with music of so strange a sound and beauty of so wild a birth, farewell, for I have won the earth. When Hope, the eagle that towered, could see no cliff beyond him in the sky, his pinions were bent droopingly, and homeward turned his softened eye. 'Twas sunset. When the sun will pot there comes a sullenness of heart to him who still would look upon the glory of the summer sun. That soul will hate the evening mist, so often lovely, and will list to the sound of the coming darkness, known to those whose spirits hearken, as one who, in a dream of night, would fly, but cannot from a danger nigh. What though the white moon shed all the splendor of her noon, her smile is chilly, and her beam in that time of dreariness will seem, so like you gather in your breath, a portrait taken off to death, and boyhood in a summer sun whose waning is the dreariest one, for all we live to know is known, and all we seek to keep hath flown. Let life then, as the day-flower, fall with the noonday beauty, which is all. I reached my home no more, for all had flown who made it so. I passed from out its mossy daw, and though my tread was soft and low, a voice came from the threshold stone of one whom I had earlier known. Oh, I defy thee, hell, to show on beds of fire that burn below, a humbler heart, a deeper woe. Father, I firmly do believe, I know, for death, who comes for me from regions of the blessed afar, where there is nothing to deceive, hath left his iron gate ajar, and rays of truth you cannot see are flashing through eternity. I do believe that Eblis hath a snare in every human path, else how, when in the holy grove I wandered of the idol, Love, who daily scents his snowy wings with incense of burnt offerings from the most unpolluted things, whose pleasant bowers are yet so riven above with trellised rays from heaven no mote may shun, no tiniest fly, the lightning of his eagle eye. How was it that ambition crept, unseen, amid the revels there, till growing bold, he laughed and leapt in the tangles of love's very hair? Song, I saw thee on thy bridal day, when a burning blush came o'er thee, though happiness around thee lay, the world all love before thee, and in thine eye a kindling light, whatever it might be, was all on earth my aching sight of loveliness could see. That blush, perhaps, was maiden shame, as such it well may pass, though its glow hath raised a fiercer flame in the breast of him, alas! Who saw thee on that bridal day, when that deep blush would come o'er thee, though happiness around thee lay, the world all love before thee? Dreams, oh, that my young life were a lasting dream, my spirit not awakening, till the beam of an eternity should bring the morrow. Yes, though that long dream were of hopeless sorrow, 'twere better than the cold reality of waking life, to him whose heart must be, and hath been still, on the lovely earth, a chaos of deep passion from his birth. But should it be, that dream eternally continuing, as dreams have been to me in my young boyhood, should it thus be given, 'twere folly still to hope for higher heaven. For I have revelled when the sun was bright I the summer sky, in dreams of living light and loveliness, have left my very hot inclines of my imaginary apart too from mine own home, with beings that have been of mine own thought. What more could I have seen? 'Twas once, and only once, and the wild hour from my remembrance shall not pass, some power or spell had bound me. 'Twas the chilly wind came o'er me in the night, and left behind its image on my spirit. Or the moon shone on my slumbers in her lofty noon too coldly. Or the stars, howe'er it was that dream was as that night wind, let it pass. I have been happy, though in a dream. I have been happy, and I love the themed dreams, in their vivid coloring of life as in that fleeting, shadowy, misty strife of semblance with reality which brings to the delirious eye ma lovely things of paradise and love, and all my own, than young hope in his sunniest hour hath known. Spirits of the dead, thy soul shall find itself alone mid dark thoughts of the grey tombstone, not one, of all the crowd, to pry into thine hour of secrecy. Be silent in that solitude which is not loneliness, for then the spirits of the dead who stood in life before thee are again in death around thee, and there shall then overshadow thee. Be still, for the night, though clear, shall frown, and the stars shall not look down from their high thrones in the heaven, with light like hope to mortals given, but their red orbs, without beam, to thy weariness shall seem as a burning and a fever which would cling to thee forever. Now a thoughts thou shalt not banish, now a visions ne'er to vanish, from thy spirit shall they pass no more, like dewdrops from the grass. The breeze, the breath of God, is still, and the mist upon the hill shadowy, yet unbroken, is a symbol and a token, how it hangs upon the trees, a mystery of mysteries. Evening star 'twas noontide of summer, and mid-time of night, and stars in their orbits shone pale, through the light of the brighter, cold moon. Mid-planets her slaves, herself in the heavens, her beam on the waves. I gazed awhile on her cold smile, too cold for me, there passed, as a shroud, a fleecy cloud, and I turned away to thee, proud evening star. In thy glory afar and dearer thy beam shall be. For joy to my heart is the proud pot thou bearest in heaven at night, and more I admire thy distant fire, than that colder, lowly light. Imitation, a dark, unfathomed tide of interminable pride, a mystery and a dream, should my early life seem. I say that dream was fraught with a wild and waking thought of beings that have been, which my spirit hath not seen, had I let them pass me by, with a dreaming eye. Let none of earth inherit that vision on my spirit. Those thoughts I would control, as a spell upon his soul, for that bright hope at last, and that light time have passed, and my worldly rest hath gone with a sigh as it passed on. I care not though it perish with a thought I then did cherish. Stanzas how often we forget all time, when lone admiring nature's universal throne, her woods, her wilds, her mountains, the intense reply of hers to our intelligence. I in youth I have known one with whom the earth in secret communing held, as he with it, in daylight, and in beauty, from his birth, whose fervid, flickering torch of life was lit from the sun and stars, whence he had drawn forth a passionate light such for his spirit was fit, and yet that spirit knew, not in the hour of its own fervor, what had o'er it power. Roman 2, perhaps it may be that my mind is wrought to a fever 3 by the moonbeam that hangs awe, but I will half believe that wild light fraught with more of sovereignty than ancient law hath ever told, or is it of a thought the unembodied essence, and no more that with a quickening spell doth o'er us pass as dew of the night time, or the summer grass. Roman 3 doth o'er us pass, when, as th expanding eye to the loved object, so the tear to the lid will start, which lately slept in apathy, and yet it need not be that object hid from us in life, but common, which doth lie each hour before us, but then only bid with a strange sound, as of a hop string broken tea awake us. 'Tis a symbol and a token, Roman 4, of what another worlds shall be, and given in beauty by our God, to those alone who otherwise would fall from life and heaven drawn by their heart's passion, and that tone, that high tone of the spirit, which hath striven though not with faith, with godliness, whose throne with desperate energy tea hath beaten down, wearing its own deep feeling as a crown. A dream in visions of the dark night I have dreamed of joy departed, but a waking dream of life and light hath left me broken-hearted. Ah, what is not a dream by day to him whose eyes are cast on things around him with a ray turned back upon the past? That holy dream, while all the world were chiding, hath cheered me as a lovely beam, a lonely spirit guiding. What though that light, through storm and night, so trembled from afar? What could there be more purely bright in truth's day-star? The happiest day, the happiest hour my seared and blighted heart hath known, the highest hope of pride and power, I feel hath flown. Roman 2 of power, said I? Yes, such I ween, but they have vanished long, alas. The visions of my youth have been, but let them pass. Roman 3 and pride, what have I now with thee? Another brow may e'en inherit the venom thou hast poured on me, be still my spirit. Roman 4, the happiest day, the happiest hour mine eyes shall see, have ever seen the brightest glance of pride and power I feet have been, but were that hope of pride and power now offered with the pain even then I felt, that brightest hour I would not live again, for on its wing was dark alloy, and as it fluttered, fell an essence, powerful to destroy a soul that knew it well. The lake in spring of youth, it was my lot to haunt of the wide world a spot the which I could not love the less. So lovely was the loneliness of a wild lake, with black rock bound, and the tall pines that towered around. But when the night had thrown her pall upon that spot, as upon all, and the mystic wind went by murmuring in melody, then, then, I would awake to the terror of the lone lake. Yet that terror was not fright, but a tremulous delight, a feeling not the jeweled mind could teach or bribe me to define, nor love, although the love were thine. Death was in that poisonous wave, and in its gulf a fitting grave for him who thence could solace bring to his lone imagining, whose solitary soul could make an Eden of that dim lake. To the river, fair river, in thy bright, clear flow of crystal, wandering water, thou art an emblem of the glow of beauty, the unhidden heart, the playful maziness of art in old Alberto's daughter, but when within thy wave she looks, which glistens then, and trembles, why then, the prettiest of brooks her worshipper resembles. For in my heart, as in thy stream, her image deeply lies his heart which trembles at the beam of her soul-searching eyes. Alone from childhood's hour, I have not been as others were, I have not seen as others saw. I could not bring my passions from a common spring. From the same source I have not taken my sorrow. I could not awaken my heart to joy at the same tone, and all I loved alone. Thou, in my childhood, in the dawn of a most stormy life, was drawn from every depth of good and ill the mystery which binds me still, from the torrent, or the fountain, from the red cliff of the mountain, from the sun that round me rolled in its autumn tint of gold, from the lightning in the sky as it passed me flying by, from the thunder, and the storm, and the cloud that took the form, when the rest of heaven was blue, of a demon in my view. Sonnet to Science, true daughter of old time thou art, who alterest all things with thy peering eyes. Why preyest thou thus upon the poet's hot vulture, whose wings are dull realities? How should he love thee? Or how deem thee wise, who wouldst not leave him in his wandering to seek for treasure in the jeweled skies, albeit he soared with an undaunted wing? Hast thou not dragged Diana from her car, and driven the Hamadryad from the wood to seek a shelter in some happier star? Hast thou not torn the Naiad from her flood, the elfin from the green grass, and from me the summer dream beneath the tamarind tree? An acrostic, Elizabeth, it is in vain you say love not. Thou sayest it in so sweet a way. In vain those words from thee or Lel Xantipp's talents had enforced so well. Ah, if that language from thy heart arise, breathe it less gently forth, and veil thine eyes. Endymion, recollect, when Luna tried to cure his love, was cured of all beside, his folly, pride, and passion, for he died. Elizabeth, it surely is most fit logic and common usage, so commanding in thy own book that first thy name be writ, Zeno, Faw, and other sages notwithstanding. And I have other reasons for so doing besides my innate love of contradiction. Each poet, if a poet, in pursuing the muses through their bowers of truth or fiction, has studied very little of his part, read nothing, written less. In short, as a fool endued with neither soul, nor sense, nor art, being ignorant of one important rule, employed in even the theses of the school, called, I forget the heathenish Greek name called anything. Its meaning is the same always right first things uppermost in the heart. Al Araf 5io, nothing earthly save the ray, thrown back from flowers, of beauty's eye, as in those gardens where the day springs from the germs of circasy. Oh, nothing earthly save the thrill of melody in woodland rill, or music of the passion-hearted, joy's voice so peacefully departed that like the murmur in the shell, its echo dwelleth and will dwell. Oh, nothing of the dross of ours, yet all the beauty, all the flowers that list our love and deck our bowers, adorn yon world afar, the wandering star. 'Twas a sweet time for Nessace, for there her world lay lolling on the golden air, near far bright suns, a temporary rest, an oasis in desert of the blessed. Away, mid-seas of rays that roll empyrean splendor are th unchained soul. The soul that scarce, the billows are so dense, can struggle to its destined eminence. To distant spheres from time to time she rode, and late to ours, the favored one of God. But now, the ruler of an anchored realm, she throws aside the scepter, leaves the helm, and, amid incense and high spiritual hymns, laves in quadruple light her angel limbs. Now happiest, loveliest in yon lovely earth, whence sprang the idea of beauty into birth. Falling in wreaths thro' many a startled star, like woman's hair mid pearls, until, afar, it lit on hills Achaean, and there dwelt. She looked into infinity and knelt. Rich clouds for canopies about her curled, fit emblems of the model of her world, seen but in beauty, not impeding sight of other beauty glittering through the light, a wreath that twined each starry form around, and all the opaled air in colour bound. All hurriedly she knelt upon a bed of flowers, of lilies such as reared the head on the fair capo ducato, six and sprang so eagerly around about to hang upon the flying footsteps of deep pride of her who loved a mottle. And so died. 7 The cephalica, budding with young bees, upreared its purple stem around her knees, and gemmy flower, of Trebizond misnamed, 8 inmate of highest stars, where erst it shammed all other loveliness, its honeyed dew, the fabled nectar that the heathen knew, deliriously sweet, was dropped from heaven, and fell on gardens of the unforgiven in Trebizond, and on a sunny flower so like its own above that, to this hour, it still remaineth, torturing the bee with madness and unwonted reverie, in heaven, and all its environs, the leaf and blossom of the fairy plant, in grief disconsolate linger, grief that hangs her head, repenting follies that full long have fled, heaving her white breast to the balmy air, like guilty beauty, chastened and more fair. Nyctans too, as sacred as the light she fears to perfume, perfuming the night, and Clytia 9 pondering between many a sun, while pettish tears adown her petals run, and that aspiring flower that sprang on earth 10 and died, ere scarce exalted into birth, bursting its odorous heart in spirit to wing its way to heaven, from garden of a king, and Vallisnerian lotus thither flown 11 from struggling with the waters of the Rhone, and thy most lovely purple perfume, Zant, 12 Isola d'Oro, Fior de Levante, and the Nelumbo bud that floats forever. 13 with Indian Cupid down the holy river, fair flowers and fairy, to whose care is given to bear the goddess song, in odors up to heaven. 14 spirit, that dwellest where, in the deep sky, the terrible and fair, in beauty vie, beyond the line of blue, the boundary of the star which turneth at the view of thy barrier and thy bar, of the barrier overgone by the comets who were cast from their pride, and from their throne to be drudges till the last, to be carriers of fire, the red fire of their heart, with speed that may not tire and with pain that shall not part, who livest, that we know, in eternity, we feel, but the shadow of whose brow what spirit shall reveal? Though the beings whom thy Nessace, thy messenger hath known have dreamed for thy infinity a model of their own. 15 Thy will is done, O God, the star hath ridden high through many a tempest, but she rode beneath thy burning eye, and here, in thought to thee, in thought that can alone ascend thy empire and so be a partner of thy throne, by winged fantasy, 16 My embassy is given, till secrecy shall knowledge be in the environs of heaven. She seized, and buried then her burning cheek abashed, amid the lilies there, to seek a shelter from the fervor of his eye, for the stars trembled at the deity. She stirred not, breathed not, for a voice was there how solemnly pervading the calm air, a sound of silence on the startled ear which dreamy poets name the music of the sphere. Ours is a world of words, quiet we call, silence, which is the merest word of all. All nature speaks, and even ideal things flap shadowy sounds from visionary wings, but not so when thus, in realms on high, the eternal voice of God is passing by, and the red winds are withering in the sky. What though in worlds which sightless cycles run, 17 linked to a little system, and one sun, where all my love is folly, and the crowd still think my terrors but the thunder cloud, the storm, the earthquake, and the ocean wrath? Will they cross me in my angry path? What though in worlds which own a single sun the sands of time grow dimmer as they run? Yet thine is my resplendency, so given to bear my secrets thro' the upper heaven. Leave tenantless thy crystal home, and fly, with all thy train, athwart the moony sky, apart, like fireflies in Sicilian night, 18 and wing to other worlds another light. Divulge the secrets of thy embassy to the proud orbs that twinkle, and so be to every heart a barrier and a ban lest the stars totter in the guilt of man. Up rose the maiden in the yellow night, the single-mooned eve. On earth we plight our faith to one love, and one moon adore. The birthplace of young beauty had no more. As sprang that yellow star from downy hours, up rose the maiden from her shrine of flowers, and bent o'er sheeny mountain and dim, plain her way, but left not yet her the Rhaeциan rain. 19 Roman too high, on a mountain of enamelled head. Such as the drowsy shepherd on his bed of giant pasturage lying at his ease, raising his heavy eyelid, starts and sees with many a muttered hope to be forgiven. What time the moon is quadrated in heaven, of rosy head, that towering far away into the sunlit ether, caught the ray of sunken suns at eve. At noon of night, while the moon danked with the fair stranger light, upreared upon such height, arose a pile of gorgeous columns on unburdened air, flashing from Parian marble that twin smile far down upon the wave that sparkled there, and nursed the young mountain in its lair. Of molten stars their pavement, such as fall 20 through the ebon air, besilvering the pall of their own dissolution, while they die, adorning then the dwellings of the sky. A dome, by linked light from heaven let down, sat gently on these columns as a crown. A window of one circular diamond there looked out above into the purple air, and rays from God shot down that meteor chain, and hallowed all the beauty twice again, save when, between th Empyrean and that ring, some eager spirit flapped his dusky wing. But on the pillars, seraph eyes have seen the dimness of this world. That grayish green that nature loves the best for beauty's grave lurked in each cornice, round each architrave, and every sculpted cherub thereabout that from his marble dwelling peered out, seemed earthly in the shadow of his niche. Achaean statues in a world so rich, friezes from Tadma and Persepolis, 21 from Baalbek, and the stilly, clear abyss of beautiful Gomorrah. Oh, the wave 22 is now upon thee, but too late to save? Sound loves to revel in a summer night. Witness the murmur of the gray twilight that stole upon the ear in Irako, 23 of many a wild stargazer long ago, that stealeth ever on the ear of him who, musing, gazeth on the distance dim, and sees the darkness coming as a cloud. Is not its form, its voice, most palpable and loud? 24 But what is this? It cometh, and it brings a music with it. 'Tis the rush of wings, a pause, and then a sweeping, falling strain, and Nessus is in her halls again. From the wild energy of wanton haste her cheeks were flushing, and her lips apart. The zone that clung around her gentle waist had burst beneath the heaving of her heart. Within the center of that hall, to breathe, she paused and panted, Zan? All beneath, the fairy light that kissed her golden hair and longed to rest, yet could but sparkle there. Young flowers were whispering in melody 25 to happy flowers that night, and tree to tree, fountains were gushing music as they fell in many a starlit grove, or moonlit dell. Yet silence came upon material things, fair flowers, bright waterfalls, and angel wings, and sound alone that from the spirit sprang bore burden to the charm the maiden sang. Neath bluebell or streamer, or tufted wild spray that keeps from the dreamer the moonbeam away. 26 bright beings, that ponder, with half-closing eyes, on the stars which your wonder hath drawn from the skies, till they glance through the shade, and come down to your brow like eyes of the maiden who calls on you now. Arise from your dreaming in violet bowers to duty beseeming these starlitten hours, and shake from your tresses encumbered with dew the breath of those kisses that cumber them too? Oh, how, without you, love, could angels be blessed? Those kisses of true love that lulled you to rest? Up, shake from your wing each hindering thing, the dew of the night, it would weigh down your flight, and true love caresses, oh, leave them apart. They alight on the tresses, but lead on the hot. Ligeia, Ligeia, my beautiful one, whose harshest idea will to melody run, oh, is it thy will on the breezes to toss? Or capriciously still, like the lone albatross, 27 incumbent on night, as she on the air, to keep watch with delight on the harmony there. Ligeia, wherever thy image may be, no magic shall sever thy music from thee. Thou hast bound many eyes in a dreamy sleep, but the strains still arise which thy vigilance keep, the sound of the rain which leaps down to the flower, and dances again in the rhythm of the shower. The murmur that springs 28 from the growing of grass are the music of things, but are modeled, alas. Away then, my dearest, oh, hie thee away to springs that lie clearest beneath the moonray, to lone lake that smiles, in its dream of deep rest, at the many star isles that enjewel its breast, where wild flowers, creeping, have mingled their shade, on its margin is sleeping full many a maid. Some have left the cool glade, and have slept with the bee 29 arouse them, my maiden, on moorland and lea, go. Breathe on their slumber, all softly in ear, the musical number they slumbered to hear. For what can awaken an angel so soon whose sleep hath been taken beneath the cold moon, as the spell which no slumber of witchery may test, the rhythmical number which lulled him to rest? Spirits in wing, and angels to the view, 1,000 seraphs burst th Empyrean throw. Young dreams still hovering on their drowsy flight, seraphs in all but knowledge. The keen light that fell, refracted, throw thy bounds afar, O death. From eye of God upon that star, sweet was that era, sweet as still that death. Sweet was that era. Even with us the breath of science dims the mirror of our joy. To them twere the simum, and would destroy. For what to them? Availeth it to know that truth is falsehood, or that bliss is woe? Sweet was their death, with them to die was rife with the lost ecstasy of satiate life. Beyond that death no immortality, but sleep that pondereth and is not to be. And there, oh, may my weary spirit dwell. pot from heaven's eternity, and yet how far from hell. 30 What guilty spirit in what shrubbery dim heard not the stirring summons of that hymn? But 2 They fell. For heaven no grace imparts to those who hear not for their beating hearts. A maiden angel and her seraph lover, oh, where and ye may seek the wide skies over, was love, the blind, near sober duty known. Unguided love hath fallen, mid tears of perfect moan. 31 He was a goodly spirit, he who fell, a wanderer by mossy-mantled well, a gazer on the lights that shine above, a dreamer in the moonbeam by his love. What wonder? For each star is eye-like there, and looks so sweetly down on beauty's hair. And they, and every mossy spring were holy to his love-haunted heart and melancholy. The night had found to him a night of woe, upon a mountain crag, young Angelo, beetling it bends athwart the solemn sky, and scowls on starry worlds that down beneath it lie. Here sate he with his love, his dark eye bent with eagle gaze along the firmament, now turned it upon her, but ever then it trembled to the orb of earth again. Ian, dearest, see, how dim that ray, how lovely 'tis to look so far away. She seemed not thus upon that autumn eve I left her gorgeous halls, nor maun to leave. That eve, I should remember well. The sun-ray dropped in Lemnos with a spell on th arabesque carving of a gilded hall wherein I sate, and on the draperied wall, and on my eyelids, oh, the heavy light, how drowsily it weighed them into night. On flowers, before, and mist, and love they ran with Persian Saadi in his Gulistan, but oh, that light? I slumbered, death, the while, stole all my senses in that lovely isle so softly that no single silken hair awoke that slept, or knew that he was there. The last spot of earth's orb I trod upon was a proud temple called the Parthenon. 32 More beauty clung around her columned wall than even thy glowing bosom beats withal. 33 And when old time my wing did disenthrall, thence sprang I, as the eagle from his tower, and years I left behind me in an hour. What time upon her airy bounds I hung, one half the garden of her globe was flung unrolling as a chart unto my view, tenantless cities of the desert too. Ian, beauty crowded on me then, and half I wished to be again of men. My Angelo, and why of them to be? A brighter dwelling place is here for thee, and greener fields than in yon world above, and women's loveliness and passionate love. But list, Ian, when the air so soft failed, as my pen and spirit leapt aloft 3 far, perhaps my brain grew dizzy. But the world I left so late was into chaos hurled, sprang from her station, on the winds apart, and rolled aflame, the fiery heaven athwart. Methought, my sweet one, then I ceased to saw, and fell, not swiftly as I rose before, but with a downward, tremulous motion throw light, brazen rays, this golden star unto. Gnaw long the measure of my falling hours, for nearest of all stars was thine to ours, dread star, that came, amid a night of mirth, a red dedalion on the timid earth. We came, and to thy earth, but not to us be given our lady's bidding to discuss. We came, my love, around, above. Below, gay firefly of the night we come and go, nor ask a reason save the angel nod she grants to us, as granted by her God. But, Angelo, then thine grey time unfurled never his fairy wing off fairer world. Dim was its little disk, and angel eyes alone could see the phantom in the skies, when first Al-Araf knew her cost to be headlong thitherward o'er the starry sea. But when its glory swelled upon the sky, as glowing beauties bust beneath man's eye, we paused before the heritage of men, and thy star trembled, as doth beauty then? Thus, in discourse, the lovers whiled away the night that waned and brought no day. They fell. For heaven to them no hope imparts who hear not for the beating of their hearts. Romance 35 Romance, who loves to nod and sing, with drowsy head and folded wing, among the green leaves as they shake far down within some shadowy lake. To me a painted paroquet hath been, a most familiar bird, taught me my alphabet to say, to lisp my very earliest word while in the wild wood I did lie, a child, with a most knowing eye. Of late, eternal condor years so shake the very heaven on high with tumult as they thunder by, I have no time for idle cares through gazing on the unquiet sky. And when an hour with calmer wings its down upon my spirit flings, that little time with lyre and rhyme to while away, forbidden things, my heart would feel to be a crime unless it trembled with the strings. The bowers whereat in dreams I see, the bowers whereat in dreams, I see the wantonest singing birds, a lips, and all thy melody of lip-begotten words, thine eyes, in heaven of hot enshrined then desolately fall, O God, on my funereal mind like starlight on a pall. Thy hot, I wake and sigh, and sleep to dream till day of truth that gold can never buy, of the baubles that it may. 2. I heed not that my earthly lot hath little of earth in it, that years of love have been forgot in the hatred of a minute. I mon not that the desolate are happier, sweet, than I, but that you sorrow for my fate who am a passerby. To Marie Louise not long ago, the writer of these lines, in the mad pride of intellectuality, maintained the power of words, denied that ever a thought arose within the human brain beyond the utterance of the human tongue. And now, as if in mockery of that boast, two words, two foreign soft dissyllables, Italian tones, made only to be murmured by angels dreaming in the moonlit dew that hangs like chains of pearl on Hermon Hill, have stirred from out the abysses of his hot, unthought-like thoughts that are the souls of thought, richer, far wider, far diviner visions than even the seraph Hapa, Israfel, who has the sweetest voice of all God's creatures, could hope to utter. And I, my spells are broken. The pen falls powerless from my shivering hand. With thy dear name as text, though bidden by thee, I cannot write, I cannot speak or think, alas, I cannot feel. For 'tis not feeling, this standing motionless upon the golden threshold of the wide-open gate of dreams, gazing, entranced, adown the gorgeous vista, and thrilling as I see, upon the right, upon the left, and all the way along, amid empurpled vapors, far away to where the prospect terminates, the only? Fairyland dim vales, and shadowy floods, and cloudy-looking woods whose farms we can't discover for the tears that drip all over. Huge moons there wax and wane, again, every moment of the night, forever changing places, and they put out the starlight with the breath from their pale faces. About 12 by the moon dial, one more filmy than the rest, a kind which, upon trial, they have found to be the best, comes down, still down, and down with its center on the crown of a mountain's eminence, while its wide circumference in easy drapery falls over hamlets, over halls, wherever they may be, o'er the strange woods, o'er the sea, over spirits on the wing, over every drowsy thing, and buries them up quite in a labyrinth of light. And then, how deep? Oh, deep, is the passion of their sleep. In the morning they arise, and their moony covering is soaring in the skies, with the tempests as they toss, like almost anything, or a yellow albatross. They use that moon no more for the same end as before, videless it a tent, which I think extravagant, its atomies, however, into a shower dissever, of which those butterflies of earth, who seek the skies and so come down again, never contented things, have brought a specimen upon their quivering wings. The city in the sea low. Death has reared himself a throne in a strange city, lying alone far down within the dim west, where the good and the bad and the worst and the best have gone to their eternal rest. Their shrines and palaces and towers, time-eaten towers that tremble not, resemble nothing that is ours. Around, by lifting winds forgot, resignedly beneath the sky, the melancholy waters lie. No rays from the holy heaven come down on the long night time of that town, but light from out the lurid sea streams up the turrets silently, gleams up the pinnacles far and free, up domes, up spires, up kingly halls, up fanes, up Babylon-like walls, up shadowy long-forgotten bowers of sculptured ivy and stone flowers, up many and many a marvelous shrine whose wreathed friezes intertwine the viol, the violet, and the vine. Resignedly beneath the sky, the melancholy waters lie. So blend the turrets and shadows there that all seem pendulous in air, while from a proud tower in the town death looks gigantically down. Their open fanes and gaping graves yawn level with the luminous waves, but not the riches there that lie in each idol's diamond eye, not the gaily jeweled dead tempt the waters from their bed, for no ripples curl, alas, along that wilderness of glass, no swellings tell that wines may be upon some far-off happiest sea, no heavings hint that wines have been on seas less hideously serene. But lo, a stir is in the air. The wave, there is a movement there, as if the towers had thrust aside in slightly sinking, the dull tide, as if their tops had feebly given a void within the filmy heaven. The waves have now a redder glow, the hours are breathing faint and low, and when, amid no earthly moans, down that town shall settle hence, hell, rising from 1,000 thrones, shall do it reverence. Israfel 36 in heaven a spirit doth dwell, whose hot strings are a lute. None sings so wildly well as the angel Israfel, and the giddy stars, so legends tell, ceasing their hymns, attend the spell of his voice, all mute. Tottering above in her highest noon, the enamored moon blushes with love, while to listen, the red levin, with the rapid Pleiades, even, which were 7, pauses in heaven, and they say, the starry choir and the other listening things, that Israfel's fire is owing to that lyre by which he sits and sings, the trembling living wire of those unusual strings. But the skies that angel trod, where deep thoughts are a duty, where love's a grown-up god, where the houri glances are imbued with all the beauty which we worship in a star. Therefore, thou art not wrong, Israfli, who despisest an unimpassioned song. To thee the laurels belong, best bard, because the wisest, merrily live and long. The ecstasies above with thy burning measures suit, thy grief, thy joy, thy hate, thy love, with the fervor of thy lute. Well may the stars be mute. Yes, heaven is thine, but this is a world of sweets and sours, our flowers are merely flowers, and the shadow of thy perfect bliss is the sunshine of ours. If I could dwell where Israfel hath dwelt, and he where I, he might not sing so wildly well a mortal melody, while a bolder note than this might swell from my lyre within the sky. A paean I how shall the burial rite be read, the solemn song be sung, the requiem for the loveliest dead that ever died so young. Roman too her friends a-gazing on her, and on her gaudy bier, and weep? Oh, to dishonor dead beauty with a tear. Roman 3, they loved her for her wealth, and they hated her for her pride, but she grew in feeble health, and they love her, that she died. Roman 4, they tell me, while they speak of her costly broided pall, that my voice is growing weak, that I should not sing at all, or that my tone should be tuned to such solemn songs so mournfully, that the dead may feel no wrong. But she is gone above, with young hope at her side, and I am drunk with love of the dead, who is my bride. Roman 7 of the dead who lies all perfumed there, with the death upon her eyes, and the life upon her hair. Roman 8 thus on the coffin loud and long I strike. The murmur sent through the grey chambers to my song, shall be the accompaniment. Roman 9 thou didst in thy life's June, but thou didst not die too fair, thou didst not die too soon, nor with too calm an air. From more than friends on earth, thy life and love are riven, to join the untainted mirth of more than thrones in heaven. Roman 12 therefore, to thee this night I will no requiem raise, but waft thee on thy flight with a paean of old days. The sleeper at midnight in the month of June, I stand beneath the mystic moon. An opiate vapor, dewy dim, exhales from out her golden rim, and softly dripping, drop by drop, upon the quiet mountain top, steals drowsily and musically into the universal valley. The rosemary nods upon the grave, the lily lolls upon the wave, wrapping the fog about its breast, the ruin moulders into rest, looking like Lethe sea. The lake a conscious slumber seems to take, and would not, for the world, awake. All beauty sleeps, and lo, where lies her casement open to the skies Irene with her destinies? O lady bright, can it be right, this window open to the night? The wanton airs from the tree-top, laughingly through the lattice drop. The bodiless airs, a wizard rout, flit through thy chamber in and out, and wave the curtain canopy so fitfully, so fearfully, above the closed and fringed lid neath which thy slumbering soul lies hid, that awe the flaw and down the wall, like ghosts the shadows rise and fall. O lady dear, hast thou no fear? Why and what art thou dreaming here? Sure thou art come off far-off seas, a wonder to these garden trees. Strange is thy pallor, strange thy dress, strange above all thy length of tress, and this all solemn silentness. The lady sleeps. Oh, may her sleep, which is enduring, so be deep. Heaven have her in its sacred keep. This chamber changed for one more holy, this bed for one more melancholy. I pray to God that she may lie forever with unopened eye, while the dim sheeted ghosts go by. My love, she sleeps? Oh, may her sleep, as it is lasting, so be deep. Soft may the worms about her creep. Far in the forest, dim and old, for her may some tall vault unfold. Some vault that oft hath flung its black and winged panels fluttering back, triumphant, are the crested palls of her grand family funerals. Some sepulchre, remote, alone, against whose pottle she hath thrown, in childhood many an idle stone. Some tomb from out whose sounding daw she ne'er shall fasten echo maw, thrilling to think, poor child of sin? It was the dead who groaned within. To Helen 37 Helen, thy beauty is to me like those Nicean bocks of yaw, that gently, o'er a perfumed sea, the weary, waywan wanderer bore to his own native shaw. On desperate seas long wont to roam, thy hyacinth hair, thy classic face, thy Naiad airs have brought me home to the glory that was Greece, to the grandeur that was Rome. Lo, in yon brilliant window niche how statue-like I me thee stand, the agate lamp within thy hand. Ah, Psyche, from the regions which are holy land, the valley of unrest once it smiled a silent dell where the people did not dwell. They had gone unto the wars, trusting to the mild-eyed stars, nightly, from their azure towers, to keep watch above the flowers, in the midst of which all day the red sunlight lazily lay. Now each visitor shall confess the sad valley's restlessness. Nothing there is motionless, nothing save the airs that brood over the magic solitude. Ah, by no wind stirred those trees that palpitate like the chill seas around the misty Hebrides. Ah, by no wind those clouds driven that rustle through the unquiet heaven uneasily, from morn till even, over the violets there that lie in myriad types of the human eye, over the lilies there that wave and weep above a nameless grave. They wave, from out their fragrant tops eternal dews come down in drops. They weep, from off their delicate stems perennial tears descend in gems. The Colosseum type of the antique Rome, rich reliquary of lofty contemplation left to time by buried centuries of pomp and power. At length, after so many days of weary pilgrimage and burning thirst for the springs of law that in thee lie, I kneel, an altered and an humble man, amid thy shadows, and so drink within my very soul thy grandeur, gloom and glory, vastness and age, and memories of eld, silence and desolation, and dim night. I feel ye now, I feel ye in your strength. O spells more sure than e'er Judean king taught in the gardens of Gethsemane. O charms more potent than the rapt Chaldee ever drew down from out the quiet stars. Here where a hero fell, a column falls. Here where the mimic eagle glared in gold, a midnight vigil holds the swarthy bat. Here where the dames of Rome their gilded hair waved to the wind, now wave the reed and thistle. Here where on golden throne the monarch lulled glides, spectre-like unto his marble home, lit by the wan light of the horned moon, the swift and silent lizard of the stones. But stay, these walls, these ivy-clad arcades, these mouldering plinths, these sad and blackened shafts, these vague entablatures, this crumbling frieze, these shattered cornices, this wreck, this ruin, these stones, alas, these grey stones, are they all of the famed and the colossal left by the corrosive hours to fate and me? Not all, the echoes answer me, not all, prophetic sounds and loud, arise forever from us, and from all ruin unto the wise, as melody from Memnon to the sun. We rule the hearts of mightiest men, we rule with a despotic sway all giant minds. We are not impotent, we pallid stones. Not all our power is gone, not all our fame, not all the magic of our high renown, not all the wonder that encircles us, not all the mysteries that in us lie, not all the memories that hang upon and cling around about us as a garment, clothing us in a robe of more than glory. Serenade so sweet the hour, so calm the time, I feel it more than half a crime, when nature sleeps and stars are mute, to mar the silence evened with lute. At rest on ocean's brilliant dyes an image of Elysium lies, 7 Pleiades entranced in heaven, form in the deep another 7, Endymion nodding from above seas in the sea a second love. Within the valleys dim and brown, and on the spectral mountain's crown, the wearied light is dying down, and earth and stars and sea and sky are redolent of sleep, as I am redolent of thee and thine enthralling love, my Adeline. But list, O list, so soft and low thy lover's voice tonight shall flow, that scarce awake thy soul shall deem my words the music of a dream. Thus while no single sound too rude upon thy slumber shall intrude, our thoughts, our souls, O God above, in every deed shall mingle love. To one in paradise thou wast all that to me, love, for which my soul did pine, a green isle in the sea, love, a fountain and a shrine, all wreathed with fairy fruits and flowers, and all the flowers were mine. Ah, dream too bright to last. Ah, starry hope, that didst arise but to be overcast. A voice from out the future cries, on, but the past, dim gulf, my spirit hovering lies mute, motionless, aghast, for alas, alas, with me the light of life is awe. No more, no more, no more. Such language holds the solemn sea to the sands upon the shore, shall bloom the thunder-blasted tree, or the stricken eagle saw. And all my days are trances, and all my nightly dreams are where thy dark eye glances, and where thy footstep gleams, in what ethereal dances, by what eternal streams. Alas, for that accursed time they bar thee o'er the billow, from love to titled age and crime, and an unholy pillow. From me, and from our misty clime, where weeps the silver willow. Hymn at morn, at noon, at twilight dim, Maria? Thou hast heard my hymn. In joy and woe, in good and ill, Mother of God, be with me still. When the hours flew brightly by, and not a cloud obscured the sky, my soul, lest it should truant be, thy grace did guide to thine and thee. Now, when storms of fate occast darkly my present and my past, let my future radiant shine with sweet hopes of thee and thine. The bridal ballad the ring is on my hand, and the wreath is on my brow. Satins and jewels grand are all at my command, and I am happy now. And my Lord he loves me well, but when first he breathed his vow, I felt my bosom swell. For the words rang as a knell, and the voice seemed his who fell in the battle down the dell, and who is happy now. But he spoke to reassure me, and he kissed my pallid brow, while a reverie came on me, and to the churchyard bar me, and I sighed to him before me, thinking him dead to lar me. Oh, I am happy now. And thus the words were spoken, and thus the plighted vow, and though my faith be broken, and though my heart be broken, behold the golden token that proves me happy now. Would to God I could awaken, for I dream I know not how, and my soul is sorely shaken lest an evil step be taken, lest the dead who is forsaken may not be happy now. 'Tis aunt fair isle, that from the fairest of all flowers, thy gentlest of all gentle names dost take. How many memories of what radiant hours at sight of thee, and thine at once awake. How many scenes of what departed bliss. How many thoughts of what entombed hopes. How many visions of a maiden that is no more upon thy verdant slopes. No more? Alas, that magical sad sound transforming all. Thy charms shall please no more, thy memory no more. Accursed ground henceforth would I hold thy flower-enamelled shaw, O hyacinthine isle, O purple zant. Isolodoro, Fior de Levante, the haunted palace in the greenest of our valleys by good angels tenanted, once a fair and stately palace, radiant palace, reared its head. In the monarch thought's dominion, it stood there. Never seraph spread a pinion over fabric half so fair. Banners yellow, glorious, golden on its roof did float and flow. All this was in the olden time long ago, and every gentle air that dallied in that sweet day, along the ramparts plumed and pallid, a winged odor went away. Wanderers in that happy valley, through two luminous windows, saw spirits moving musically, to a lute's well-tuned law, round about a throne where, sitting Porphyrogene, in state his glory well befitting, the ruler of the realm was seen. And all with pearl and ruby glowing was the fair palace door, through which came flowing, and sparkling evermore, a troop of echoes whose sweet duty was but to sing, in voices of surpassing beauty, the wit and wisdom of their king. But evil things, in robes of sorrow, assailed the monarch's high estate. Ah, let us mourn, for never morrow shall dawn upon him desolate, and round about his home the glory that blushed and bloomed is but a dim-remembered story of the old time entombed. And travellers, now within that valley, through the red-litten windows see vast farms that move fantastically to a discordant melody, while, like a ghastly rapid river, through the pale door a hideous throng rush out forever and laugh, but smile no more. Silence, there are some qualities, some incorporate things, that have a double life, which thus is made a type of that twin entity which springs from matter and light, evinced in solid and shade. There is a twofold silence, sea and shaw, body and soul. One dwells in lonely places, newly with grass o'ergrown. Some solemn graces, some human memories and tearful law, render him terrorless, his name's no more. He is the corporate silence, dread him not. No power hath he of evil in himself, but should some urgent fate untimely lot bring thee to meet his shadow, nameless elf, that haunteth the lone regions where hath trod no foot of man, commend thyself to God, the conqueror worm low. 'Tis a gala night within the lonesome latter years. An angel throng, bewinged, bedight in veils and drowned in tears, sit in a theatre to see a play of hopes and fears, while the orchestra breathes fitfully the music of the spheres. Mimes, in the form of God on high, mutter and mumble low, and hither and thither fly. Mere puppets they, who come and go at bidding of vast, formless things that shift the scenery to and fro, flapping from out their condor wings invisible woe. That motley drama, oh, be sure it shall not be forgot, with its phantom chased forevermore, by a crowd that sees it not, through a circle that ever returneth in to the self-same spot, and much of madness, and more of sin, and horror the soul of the plot. But see, amid the mimic rout a crawling shape intrude, a blood-red thing that writhes from out the scenic solitude. It writhes. With mortal pangs the mimes become its food, and the angels sob at vermin fangs in human gore imbued. Out of the lights, out all. And over each quivering form, the curtain, a funeral pall, comes down with the rush of a storm, and the angels, all pallid and wan, uprising, unveiling, affirm that the play is the tragedy, man, and its hero the conqueror worm. Eulalie, I dwelt alone in a world of moan, and my soul was a stagnant tide, till the fair and gentle Eulalie became my blushing bride, till the yellow-haired young Eulalie became my smiling bride. Ah, less bright the stars of the night than the eyes of the radiant girl, and never a flake that the vapor can make with the moon tints of purple and pearl can vie with the modest Eulalie's most unregarded curl, can compare with the bright-eyed Eulalie's most humble and careless curl. Now doubt, now pain come never again, for her soul gives me sigh for sigh, and all day long shines, bright and strong, Astarte within the sky, while ever to her dear Eulalie upturns her matron eye, while Eva to her young eulalie upturns her violet eye. Lenore, ah, broken is the golden bowl, the spirit flown forever, let the bell toll? A saintly soul floats on the Stygian river. And Guy de Vere, haste thou no tear? Weep now or never more, see, on yon drear and rigid bier low lies thy love, Lenore. Come, let the burial rite be read, the funeral song be sung, an anthem for the queenliest dead that ever died so young, a dirge for her, the doubly dead in that she died so young. Wretches, ye loved her for her wealth and hated her for her pride, and when she fell in feeble health ye blessed her, that she died. How shall the ritual then be read? The requiem how be sung by you, by yaws, the evil eye by yaws, the slanderous tongue that did to death the innocents that died, and died so young? Peccavimus, but rave not thus, and let a Sabbath song go up to God so solemnly the dead may feel no wrong. The sweet Lenore hath gone before, with hope that flew beside leaving thee wild for the dear child that should have been thy bride, for her, the fair and debonair, that now so lowly lies, the life upon her yellow hair but not within her eyes, the life still there, upon her hair, the death upon her eyes. Avaunt, tonight my heart is light. No dirge will I appraise, but waft the angel on her flight with a paean of old days. Let no bell toll, lest her sweet soul, amid its hallowed mirth, should catch the note as it doth float up from the damned earth. To friends above, from fiends below, the indignant ghost is riven, from hell unto a high estate far up within the heaven, from grief and groan to a golden throne beside the King of Heaven, dreamland by a route obscure and lonely, haunted by ill angels only, where an eidolon, named Night, on a black throne reigns upright. I have reached these lands but newly from an ultimate dim thule, from a wild weird clime that lieth, sublime, out of space, out of time. Bottomless vales and boundless floods and chasms and caves and Titan woods, with farms that no man can discover for the dews that drip all over. Mountains toppling evermore into seas without a shaw, seas that restlessly aspire, surging, unto skies of fire, lakes that endlessly outspread their lone waters, lone and dead, their still waters, still and chilly with the snows of the lolling lily. By the lakes that thus outspread their lone waters, lone and dead, their sad waters, sad and chilly with the snows of the lolling lily, by the mountains, near the river murmuring lowly, murmuring ever, by the grey woods, by the swamp where the toad and the newt encamp, by the dismal tarns and pools where dwell the ghouls, by each spot the most unholy, in each nook most melancholy, there the traveller meets aghast sheeted memories of the past, shrouded forms that start and sigh as they pass the wanderer by, white-robed forms of friends long given, in agony, to the earth and heaven. For the heart whose woes are legion, 'tis a peaceful, soothing region, for the spirit that walks in shadow 'tis, oh 'tis an Eldorado, but the traveller, travelling through it, may not dare not openly view it. Never its mysteries are exposed to the weak human eye unclosed. So wills its king, who hath forbid the uplifting of the fringed lid, and thus the sad soul that here passes beholds it but through darkened glasses. By a route obscure and lonely, haunted by ill angels only, where an eidolon, named Night, on a black throne reigns upright, I have wandered home but newly from this ultimate dim thule. The raven 38 once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered, weak and weary, over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten law, while I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as of someone gently rapping at my chamber door. "'Tis some visitor," I muttered, "tapping at my chamber door, only this and nothing more." Ah, distinctly I remember, it was in the bleak December, and each separate dying ember wrought its ghost upon the floor. Eagerly I wished the morrow. Vainly I had sought to borrow from my books surcease of sorrow. Sorrow for the lost Lenore, for the rare and radiant maiden whom the angels name Lenore, nameless here forevermore. And the silken, sad, uncertain rustling of each purple curtain thrilled me, filled me with fantastic terrors never felt before, so that now, to still the beating of my heart, I stood repeating, "'Tis some visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door, some late visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door, this it is, and nothing more." Presently my soul grew stronger. Hesitating then no longer, "Sir," said I, "or madam, truly your forgiveness I implore, but the fact is I was napping, and so gently you came rapping, and so faintly you came tapping at my chamber door, that I scarce was sure I heard you." Here I opened wide the door. Darkness there and nothing more. Deep into that darkness peering, long I stood there wondering, fearing, doubting, dreaming dreams no mortal ever dared to dream before. But the silence was unbroken, and the darkness gave no token, and the only word there spoken was the whispered word, "Lenore?" This I whispered, and an echo murmured back the word, Lena, merely this and nothing more. Back into the chamber turning, all my soul within me burning, soon I heard again a tapping, somewhat louder than before. Surely, said I, surely that is something at my window lattice. Let me see, then, what thereat is, and this mystery explore. Let my heart be still a moment, and this mystery explore. 'Tis the wind and nothing more. Open here I flung the shutter, when with many a flirt and flutter, in there stepped a stately raven of the saintly days of yore. Not the least obeisance made he, not an instant stopped or stayed he, but with mien of laud or lady, perched above my chamber door, perched upon a bust of Pallas just above my chamber door, perched and sat, and nothing more. Then this ebony bird beguiling my sad fancy into smiling, by the grave and stern decorum of the countenance it wore, though thy crest be shorn and shaven, thou, I said, art sure no craven, ghastly grim and ancient raven wandering from the nightly shaw. Tell me what thy lordly name is on the night's Plutonian shaw. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Much I marvelled this ungainly fowl to hear discourse so plainly, though its answer little meaning, little relevancy bore, for we cannot help agreeing that no living human being ever yet was blessed with seeing bird above his chamber door, bird or beast upon the sculptured bust above his chamber door, with such name as nevermore. But the raven, sitting lonely on the placid bust, spoke only that one word, as if his soul in that one word he did outpour. Nothing farther than he uttered, not a feather than he fluttered, till I scarcely more than muttered, other friends have flown before, on the morrow he will leave me, as my hopes have flown before. Then the bird said, nevermore. Startled at the stillness broken by reply so aptly spoken, doubtless, said I, what it utters is its only stock and star, caught from some unhappy master whom unmerciful disaster followed fast and followed faster, till his songs one burden bore, till the dirges of his hope that melancholy burden bore of, never, nevermore. But the raven still beguiling all my sad soul into smiling, straight I wheeled a cushioned seat in front of bird and bust and daw. Then, upon the velvet sinking, I betook myself to linking fancy unto fancy, thinking what this ominous bird of yaw, what this grim, ungainly, ghastly, gaunt, and ominous bird of yaw meant in croaking, nevermore. This I sat engaged in guessing, but no syllable expressing to the fowl whose fiery eyes now burned into my bosom's caw. This and more I sat divining, with my head at ease reclining on the cushion's velvet lining that the lamplight gloated awe, but whose velvet violet lining with the lamplight gloating awe, she shall press, nevermore? Then, methought, the air grew denser, perfumed from an unseen censer swung by seraphim whose footfalls tinkled on the tufted flaw. Wretch, I cried, thy God hath lent thee, by these angels he hath sent thee respite and nepenthe from thy memories of Lena. Quaff, oh quaff this kind nepenthe, and forget this lost Lena. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still, if bird or devil, whether tempest sent, or whether tempest tossed thee here ashaw, desolate yet all undaunted, on this desert land enchanted, on this home by horror haunted, tell me truly, I implore, is there balm in Gilead? Tell me, I implore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still, if bird or devil, by that heaven that bends above us, by that God we both adore, tell this soul with sorrow laden if, within the distant Aidenn, it shall clasp a sainted maiden whom the angels name Lena, clasp a rare and radiant maiden whom the angels name Lena. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Be that word our sign of parting, bird or fiend. I shrieked, upstarting. Get thee back into the tempest and the night's Plutonian shaw. Leave no black plume as a token of that lie thy soul hath spoken. Leave my loneliness unbroken. Quit the bust above my daw. Take thy beak from out my heart, and take thy form from off my daw. Quoth the raven, nevermore. And the raven, never flitting, still is sitting on the pallid bust of Pallas just above my chamber door, and his eyes have all the seeming of a demon's that is dreaming, and the lamplight o'er him streaming throws his shadow on the flaw, and my soul from out that shadow that lies floating on the flaw shall be lifted, nevermore, to F. 39 beloved, amid the earnest woes that crowd around my earthly path. Drear path, alas, where grows not even one lonely rose. My soul at least a solace hath in dreams of thee, and therein knows an Eden of bland repose. And thus thy memory is to me like some enchanted far-off isle in some tumultuous sea, some ocean throbbing far and free with storm, but where meanwhile serenest skies continually just awe that one bright island's smile. A Valentine foughty for her this rhyme is penned, whose luminous eyes, brightly expressive as the twins of Leda, shall find her own sweet name, that nestling lies upon the page, enwrapped from every reader. Search narrowly the lines. They hold a treasure divine, a talisman, an amulet that must be won at heart. Search well the measure, the words, the syllables. Do not forget the trivialist point, or you may lose your labor. And yet there is in this no Gordian knot which one might not undo without a saber, if one could merely comprehend the plot. Enwritten upon the leaf where now are peering eyes, scintillating soul, there lie perdus 3 eloquent words oft uttered in the hearing of poets by poets, as the name is a poet's too. Its letters, although naturally lying like the knight Pinto, Mendez Ferdinando, still form a synonym for truth. Cease trying. You will not read the riddle, though you do the best you can do. To Marie-Louise, show, of all who hail thy presence as the morning, of all to whom thine absence is the night, the blotting utterly from out high heaven the sacred sun, of all who, weeping, bless thee hourly for hope, for life, above all, for the resurrection of deep-buried faith in truth, in virtue, in humanity, of all who, on despair's unhallowed bed lying down to die, have suddenly arisen at thy soft-murmured words. Let there be light. At the soft-murmured words that were fulfilled in the seraphic glancing of thine eyes, of all who owe thee most, whose gratitude nearest resembles worship. Oh, remember the truest, the most fervently devoted, and think that these weak lines are written by him who, as he pens them, thrills to think his spirit is communing with an angel's. Ulalum 41. The skies they were ashen and sober, the leaves they were crisped and sere, the leaves they were withering and sere. It was night in the lonesome October of my most immemorial year. It was hard by the dim lake of Auber, in the misty mid-region of Weir. It was down by the dank tarn of Auber, in the ghoul-haunted woodland of Weir. Here once, through an alley titanic of cypress, I roamed with my soul, of cypress with Psyche my soul. These were days when my heart was volcanic as the scoriac rivers that roll, as the lavas that restlessly roll their sulphurous currents down Yaanek in the ultimate climbs of the pole, that groan as they roll down Mount Yaanek in the realms of the boreal pole. Our talk had been serious and sober, but our thoughts they were palsied and sere. Our memories were treacherous and sere, for we knew not the month was October, and we mocked not the night of the year. Night of all nights in the year. We noted not the dim lake of Auber, though once we had journeyed down here. We remembered not the dank tarn of Auber, nor the ghoul-haunted woodland of Weir. And now, as the night was senescent and star-dials pointed to morn, as the sun-dials hinted of morn, at the end of our path, a liquescent and nebulous lustre was born, out of which a miraculous crescent arose with a duplicate horn, a Stot's bediamonded crescent distinct with its duplicate horn. And I said, she is warmer than Diane, she rolls through an ether of sighs, she revels in a region of sighs. She has seen that the tears are not dry on these cheeks, where the worm never dies, and has come past the stars of the lion to point us the path to the skies, to the Lethian peace of the skies, come up in despite of the lion, to shine on us with her bright eyes, come up through the lair of the lion, with love in her luminous eyes. But Psyche, uplifting her finger, said, sadly this star I mistrust, her pallor I strangely mistrust. Oh, hasten! Oh, let us not linger! Oh, fly, let us fly, for we must. In terror she spoke, letting sink her wings till they trailed in the dust, in agony sobbed, letting sink her plumes till they trailed in the dust, till they sorrowfully trailed in the dust. I replied, this is nothing but dreaming. Let us on by this tremulous light. Let us bathe in this crystalline light. Its sibyllic splendor is beaming with hope and in beauty tonight. See, it flickers up the sky through the night. We safely may trust to its gleaming, and be sure it will lead us aright. We safely may trust to a gleaming that cannot but guide us aright, since it flickers up to heaven through the night. Thus I pacified Psyche and kissed her, and tempted her out of her gloom, and conquered her scruples and gloom, and we passed to the end of the vista, but were stopped by the door of a tomb, by the door of a legended tomb, and I said, what is written, sweet sister, on the door of this legended tomb? She replied, Ulalum, Ulalum, 'tis the vault of thy lost Ulalum. Then my heart it grew ashen and sober as the leaves that were crisped and sere, as the leaves that were withering and sere, and I cried, it was surely October on this very night of last year that I journeyed down here, that I brought a dread burden down here. On this night of all nights in the year, what demon has tempted me here? Well I know now this dim lake of Auber, this misty mid-region of Weir. Well I know now this dank tarn of Auber, this ghoul-haunted woodland of Weir. The bells 42, I hear the sledges with the bells, silver bells. What a world of merriment their melody foretells. How they tinkle, 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 in the icy air of night. while the stars that oversprinkle all the heavens seem to twinkle with a crystalline delight, keeping time in a sort of runic rhyme to the tintinnabulation that so musically wells from the bells, from the jingling and the tinkling of the bells. Roman 2, hear the mellow wedding bells, golden bells. What a world of happiness their harmony foretells. Through the balmy air of night how they ring out their delight. From the molten golden notes and all in tune, what a liquid ditty floats to the turtle dove that listens while she gloats on the moon. Oh, from out the sounding cells, what a gush of euphony voluminously wells. How it swells. How it dwells on the future. How it tells of the rapture that impels to the swinging and the ringing of the bells, of the bells, to the rhyming and the chiming of the bells. Roman 3, hear the loud alarum bells, brazen bells. What a tale of terror now their turbulency tells. In the startled ear of night how they scream out their affright. Too much horrified to speak, they can only shriek out of tune, in a clamorous appealing to the mercy of the fire, in a mad expostulation with the deaf and frantic fire, leaping higher, with a desperate desire, and a resolute endeavor now to sit on never by the side of the pale-faced moon. Oh, the bells, what a tale their terror tells of despair. How they clang and clash and raw. What a horror they outpour on the bosom of the palpitating air. Yet the ear it fully knows, by the twanging and the clanging, how the danger ebbs and flows. Yet the ear distinctly tells in the jangling and the wrangling, how the danger sinks and swells, by the sinking or the swelling in the anger of the bells, in the clamour and the clangor of the bells. Roman 4, hear the tolling of the bells, iron bells. What a world of solemn thought their monody compels. In the silence of the night, how we shiver with affright at the melancholy meaning of their tone. For every sound that floats from the rust within their throats is a groan. And the people, the people, they that dwell up in the steeple, all alone, and who, tolling, in that muffled monotone, feel a glory in so rolling on the human heart a stone. They are neither man nor woman. They are neither brute nor human, they are ghouls. And their king it is who tolls, and he rolls a paean from the bells, and his merry bosom swells with the paean of the bells. And he dances and he yells, keeping time in a sort of runic rhyme to the paean of the bells, keeping time in a sort of runic rhyme to the throbbing of the bells, to the sobbing of the bells. Keeping time as he knells in a happy runic rhyme to the rolling of the bells, to the tolling of the bells, to the moaning and the groaning of the bells. Eldorado 43, gaily bedight. A gallant knight, in sunshine and in shadow, had journeyed long, singing a song in search of Eldorado. But he grew old, this knight so bold, and o'er his heart a shadow fell as he found no spot of ground that looked like Eldorado. And as his strength failed him at length, he met a pilgrim shadow. Shadow, said he, where can it be, this land of Eldorado? Over the mountains of the moon, down the valley of the shadow, ride, boldly ride. The shade replied, if you seek for Eldorado. An enigma far seldom we find, says Solomon Don Dunce, half an idea in the profoundest sonnet. Through all the flimsy things we see at once as easily as through a Naples bonnet, trash of all trash. How can a lady don it? Yet heavier far than your Petrarchan stuff, owl-downy nonsense that the faintest puff twirls into trunk paper the while you con it. And veritably, Sol is right enough. The general tuckamanities are errant bubbles, ephemeral and so transparent. But this is, now, you may depend upon it, stable, opaque, immortal, all by dint of the dear names that lie concealed within't. To Helen 45 I saw thee once only, years ago. I must not say how many, but not many. It was a July midnight, and from out a full-orbed moon that, like thine own soul soaring, sought a precipitate pathway up through heaven, there fell a silvery silken veil of light, with quietude and sultriness and slumber, upon the upturned faces of 1,000 roses that grew in an enchanted garden, where no wind dared to stir, unless on tiptoe. Fell on the upturned faces of these roses that gave out, in return for the love-light, their odorous souls in an ecstatic death. Fell on the upturned faces of these roses that smiled and died in this parterre, enchanted by thee, and by the poetry of thy presence. Clad all in white, upon a violet bank I saw thee half reclining, while the moon fell on the upturned faces of the roses, and on thine own, upturned, alas, in sorrow. Was it not fate that on this July midnight, was it not fate, whose name is also sorrow, that bade me pause before that garden gate to breathe the incense of those slumbering roses? No footsteps stirred, the hated world all slept save only thee and me. O heaven? O God, how my heart beats in coupling those two words, save only thee and me. I paused, I looked, and in an instant all things disappeared. Ah, bear in mind this garden was enchanted. The pearly luster of the moon went out. The mossy banks and the meandering paths, the happy flowers and the repining trees, were seen no more. The very roses' odors died in the arms of the adoring airs. All expired save thee, save less than thou, save only the divine light in thine eyes, save but the soul in thine uplifted eyes. I saw but them, they were the world to me. I saw but them, saw only them for hours, saw only them until the moon went down. What wild hot histories seemed to lie enwritten upon those crystalline, celestial spheres? How dark a woe, yet how sublime a hope, how silently serene a sea of pride, how daring an ambition, yet how deep, how fathomless a capacity for love. But now, at length, dear Diane sank from sight into a western couch of thundercloud, and thou, a ghost, amid the entombing trees didst glide away. Only thine eyes remained. They would not go, they never yet have gone. Lighting my lonely pathway home that night, they have not left me, as my hopes have since. They follow me, they lead me through the years. They are my ministers, yet I their slave. Their office is to illumine and enkindle, my duty, to be saved by their bright light and purified in their electric fire, and sanctified in their Elysian fire. They fill my soul with beauty, which is hope, and are far up in heaven, the stars I kneel to in the sad, silent watches of my night, while even in the meridian glare of day I see them still, two sweetly scintillant Venuses, unextinguished by the sun. Annabel lay 46, it was many and many a year ago, in a kingdom by the sea, that a maiden lived whom you may know by the name of Annabel Lee, and this maiden she lived with no other thought than to love and be loved by me. I was a child and she was a child, in this kingdom by the sea, but we loved with a love that was more than love, I and my Annabel Lee, with a love that the winged seraphs of heaven coveted her and me. And this was the reason that, long ago, in this kingdom by the sea, a wind blew out of a cloud, chilling my beautiful Annabel Lee, so that her high-born kinsman came and bore her away from me, to shut her up in a sepulchre in this kingdom by the sea. The angels, not half so happy in heaven, went envying her and me? Yes, that was the reason, as all men know, in this kingdom by the sea, that the wind came out of the cloud by night, chilling and killing my Annabel Lee. But our love it was stronger by far than the love of those who were older than we, of many far wiser than we, and neither the angels in heaven above, nor the demons down under the sea, can ever dissever my soul from the soul of the beautiful Annabel Lee. For the moon never beams without bringing me dreams of the beautiful Annabel Lee, and the stars never rise, but I see the bright eyes of the beautiful Annabel Lee. And so, all the night tide, I lie down by the side of my darling, my life and my bride, in her sepulchre there by the sea, in her tomb by the side of the sea. A dream within a dream take this kiss upon the brow, and in parting from you now, thus much let me avow, you are not wrong, who deem that my days have been a dream. Yet if hope has flown away in a night, or in a day, in a vision, or in none, is it therefore the less gone? All that we see or seem is but a dream within a dream. I stand amid the roar of a surf-tormented shaw, and I hold within my hand grains of the golden sand, how few? Yet how they creep through my fingers to the deep while I weep, O God, can I not grasp them with a tighter clasp? O God, can I not save one from the pitiless wave? Is all that we see or seem but a dream within a dream? For Annie 47, thank heaven. The crisis? The danger is past, and the lingering illness is over at last, and the fever called living is conquered at last. Sadly, I know, I am shorn of my strength, and no muscle I move as I lie at full length, but no matter. I feel I am better at length, and I rest so composedly, now in my bed, that any beholder might fancy me dead, might start at beholding me, thinking me dead. The moaning and groaning, the sighing and sobbing, are quieted now, with that horrible throbbing at heart. Ah, that horrible, horrible throbbing! The sickness, the nausea, the pitiless pain have ceased with the fever that maddened my brain, with the fever called living that burned in my brain. And oh, of all tortures that torture the worst has abated, the terrible torture of thirst, for the naphthaline river of passion accursed. I have drank of a water that quenches all thirst, of a water that flows, with a lullaby sound, from a spring but a very few feet underground, from a cavern not very far down underground. And ah, Let it never be foolishly said that my room it is gloomy and narrow my bed, for man never slept in a different bed, and to sleep, you must slumber in just such a bed. My tantalized spirit here blandly reposes, forgetting, or never regretting its roses, its old agitations of myrtles and roses, for now, while so quietly lying, it fancies a holier odor about it, of pansies, a rosemary odor, commingled with pansies, with rue and the beautiful Puritan pansies. And so it lies happily, bathing in many a dream of the truth and the beauty of Annie, drowned in a bath of the tresses of Annie. She tenderly kissed me, she fondly caressed, and then I fell gently to sleep on her breast, deeply to sleep from the heaven of her breast. When the light was extinguished, she covered me warm, and she prayed to the angels to keep me from harm, to the queen of the angels to shield me from harm. And I lie so composedly, now in my bed, knowing her love, that you fancy me dead, and I rest so contentedly, now in my bed, with her love at my breast, that you fancy me dead, that you shudder to look at me, thinking me dead. But my heart it is brighter than all of the many stars in the sky, for it sparkles with Annie, it glows with the light of the love of my Annie, with the thought of the light of the eyes of my Annie. To my mother 48 because I feel that, in the heavens above, the angels, whispering to one another, confined among their burning terms of love, none so devotional as that of mother. Therefore by that dear name I long have called you, you who are more than mother unto me, and fill my heart of hearts, where death installed you, in setting my Virginia's spirit free. My mother, my own mother, who died early, was but the mother of myself, but you are mother to the one I loved so dearly, and thus a dearer than the mother I knew by that infinity with which my wife was dearer to my soul than its soul life. To Francis S. Osgood 49, thou wouldst be loved. Then let thy heart from its present pathway part not, being everything which now thou art, be nothing which thou art not. So with the world thy gentle ways, thy grace, thy more than beauty, shall be an endless theme of praise, and love a simple duty. Poetry by Edgar Allan Poe. Uncopyright may you do good and not evil. May you find forgiveness for yourself and forgive others. May you share freely, never taking more than you give. Copyright pages exist to tell you that you can't do something. Unlike them, this uncopyright page exists to tell you that the writing and artwork in this ebook are believed to be in the United States public domain. That is, they are believed to be free of copyright restrictions in the United States. The United States public domain represents our collective cultural heritage, and items in it are free for anyone in the United States to do almost anything at all with, without having to get permission. Copyright laws are different all over the world, and the source text or artwork in this ebook may still be copyrighted in other countries. If you're not located in the United States, you must check your local laws before using this ebook. Standard ebooks makes no representations regarding the copyright status of the source text or artwork in this ebook in any country other than the United States. Non-authorship activities performed on items that are in the public domain, so-called sweat of the brow, work, don't create a new copyright. That means that nobody can claim a new copyright on an item that is in the public domain for, among other things, work like digitization, mock-up, or typography. Regardless, the contributors to this ebook released their contributions under the terms in the CC 01.0 Universal Public Domain dedication, thus dedicating to the worldwide public domain all of the work they've done on this ebook, including but not limited to metadata, the title page, imprint, colophon, this uncopyright, and any changes or enhancements to, or mock-up on, the original text and artwork. This dedication doesn't change the copyright status of the source text or artwork. We make this dedication in the interest of enriching our global cultural heritage, to promote free and libre culture around the world, and to give back to the unrestricted culture that has given all of us so much. Table of Contents Landmarks.